Nice.
Okay. Um,
Hey.
I'm actually not feeling a little bit heavy today, so I'm really glad that you're called. But yeah, I wanted to get that out. Yeah, in short, by the way, thank you for doing everything. I don't know you for very long. Like it's been 2 months at
Oh yeah.
the most long, but um, it's been really great, and
Nice.
I wanted to thank you for that.
Pleasure.
Uh, the reason I'm calling, I have a question about my situation.
Mm-hmm.
To give a really short summary, I've been having a lot of mental health issues since 5 years,
Mm.
and in those years, my whole life collapsed really, and I started to get an anxiety that was like 24/7,
Mm.
and yeah, so my whole life turned upside down. I had to stop working. I had to stop with a lot of things, and yeah, not to really find myself. And I tried a lot of things, a lot of therapies, a lot of medications, etc., etc., until yeah, and nothing really helped except the only thing that really helped was accepting and surrendering.
Mm.
And since 2 years, of 1.5 years, I got into meditation really seriously, meditating for like 2 to 3 hours a day,
Mm.
and along with practicing surrendering and consuming some spiritual content. And that's actually the only thing that calmed my body down and
Oh
seemed
wow.
like
Yeah. Nice.
it started to yeah, and I call it anxiety, but it's more like the further I am, the more I realize it's just tension. It's not really anxiety, it's more like tension. There's
Mm.
also anxiety, but there's like a lot of tension to everything really basically in life, and
Yeah. Yeah.
all my emotions. And so I had to start dissolve that, and by surrendering, by doing my meditations, and I got some really beautiful, insane, mystical experiences. And I was really skeptical at first, but after having those experiences, I thought, okay, this is what I was looking all my whole life for, and so I'm pursuing that. And I don't know if I will ever get any quote unquote attainments, but I feel like it's pulling me really hard, and it feels like my whole life has been set up to pursue this thing
Mm.
in a in a in a in a weird way.
Mm.
But to come to the question, my
Well, thanks
it's
for
been
sharing that part of your story. So,
thank you for listening to it. I really appreciate it. And the hard thing is my days are like really bad, or they're like really expensive, like a spacious, expansive and beautiful and crispy and luminous, and it's like going up and down and up and down, and I'm really used to it. And every time I starting to have this doubt, oh my god, this is too heavy, I'm starting to doubt the process. Every time I have that moment, when it feels like it's getting too much, I talk with one of my meditation teachers, or I have contact with another enlightened being, and it's actually always the same. They always point me to trusting the process and surrendering. And deep down, I know that's also the answer every time. And maybe you will give the same answer, maybe not. That's totally fine. But it's so heavy. My body is so dense, and it's really getting lighter. My body is really clearly dissolving, but it's coming from such a dense start, and there's so much to go through, and it goes so slowly and steady. But yeah, and
and
I
what, what,
just
what was the
wanted to share.
question? Like the question was, you said about that all this stuff, and when you ask teachers and when you ask me, maybe I have the same answer. But what was the asking part?
Yeah, more like, I don't know, like what should I do?
About what?
What should I do? I don't know. Maybe some encouragement, maybe a whole another view. I don't know. I just felt like sharing because it feels like a lot, and
Yeah,
yeah, I don't
yeah.
know. It's maybe a little bit stupid.
It's not stupid. It's just what happened. Like your body phoned up and said this.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know really. Like I don't really know what to say.
yeah,
Like
like it.
like that's if you I'm like a if you no hang on, that was gonna come out wrong. If you um, ask me a direct question, then maybe more of an answer will come. But just in the sense of your experience, like I totally validate your experience and I really hear your story, and I think it's really beautiful that things have begun to get lighter. Um, but if you ask me more a direct question, otherwise I don't see any point in giving you any feedback because it sounds beautiful, like what's
Yeah.
happening. But yeah, so that's
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you. Well, that's that's already. I'm glad that I could share. Okay, let me turn up and question. Um, what is all this tension, and it doesn't feel really normal. What? Yeah,
Mm.
I don't know. What's?
Yeah, okay, so that's great that you have a question. So I can talk about that, but just to
Mhm.
give you a disclaimer, so what I'm just going to do is just open my mouth and let it speak. So
Yes,
it's just going to spontaneously come out.
go
But
for it.
I don't know if it's true.
Yeah,
So you just have to take anything that resonates for you. Like, don't take it on as in like, okay, this is what it says, and this is true. I'm just stabbing in the dark.
yeah.
Like I'm just like letting what comes out come out. It doesn't mean that it's right in any way. It's just what's coming out.
That's
So I
all.
would say that more than likely, what
Mm-hmm.
happens to most of us is that we go into society, we're born into the society, and we're told that happiness is in the future,
Mm-hmm.
and um, and that you have to achieve happiness. And then what it sets up is this person that works really hard because it believes I've got to achieve happiness in the future. It's all on me. So I've got to get home, I've got to get a house, I've got to have a family, I've got to do all these things, and I've got to be happy. And what it does when it does that is it begins to ignore the actual natural state of play of the person, and it begins to make up this fake person in the mind of what it wants to be. So
Mm-hmm.
you want to be a successful person, you want to be an architect, you want to be somebody that goes out every weekend, or you want to be someone that's really funny, and
Mm-hmm.
or somebody that doesn't have emotions, someone that never gets upset. And so you begin to form this idea in your head of who you want to be, and then you've got the reality of who you are in the moment, in each moment. So then what happens is we have to cut off our body and our feelings and our way of being in order to live up to this ideal of who we think we need to be. And this creates the most immense amount of tension.
Mm-hmm.
But what's really amazing about it is we often can't feel it. So what happens to a lot of people in society until they have a breakdown, so they start beginning to have panic attacks, they have a burnout, or they have something like you, mental health issues that come on, they um, don't question it because what they're focused on is their story of themselves rather than actually what's happening moment to moment. So say for an example, like when I was younger, I was thinking about this today. I used to have a relative that would speak all the time, and wherever I took them, they would just talk a lot and about very personal stuff, and it used to be embarrassing to me. But in my mind, I was more focused, and this still actually happens sometimes with that relative. in my mind, I was more focused about wanting them to be happy and wanting them to accept me, and making sure they were happy, because if they weren't happy, then it could have negative consequences for me. So I was more in touch with that mental story, even though I wasn't very clear that's what's happening. What was happening in my mind was, I've got to keep them happy, or we've got to allow them to talk. You've got to give them space to talk. You've got to just be quiet and let them talk. But what was happening in my body was discomfort and crossing boundaries. So in my body didn't actually want to do that. Didn't want to let them obsessively speak. But in my mind, I had this idea of what I had to be, but I wasn't conscious really of the body. Then what would happen at the end of interacting with them is that my body would be very hard and very dense, because I've suppressed what my natural flow was, which isn't nasty. We always have this idea that our natural flow will be nasty. I remember last summer, like, my mum invited around some relatives, and there was this little girl that came. She was like 7 years old, and she just wanted to draw and then sort of twirl, like stand in the grass and twirl, and then she was playing with my mum's ducks. And I could just see there was this like natural flow in her that she still was in contact with. And I could see that society was going to begin to hammer it out of her to make her more normal, or to make her more interactive or chatty. But that natural flow is still going to be there. So that's what I would suggest has happened, is that you've got years and years of tension of not being yourself. And what this meditation is bringing you back to is bringing you more back to the body, more back to the infinite nature of what you are. And this acceptance is allowing that through. It's allowing your natural flow through, and that's relaxing your system and then putting you more in contact with truth.
Yeah.
So that's what my perspective on it would be. But just with the disclaimer, I don't know if that's true for you. I don't know if that's true for other people that are listening to this talk. Like, this is what I was taught, and this was correlated with my awakening. And then this is also the natural flow that's coming out of my body, but it doesn't mean that that's the truth. The truth is what is, and the truth is unspeakable and unknowable and total mystery.
Yeah.
And that's the real freedom.
And a little bit scary too sometimes. But yeah, I want to say it's really accurate, because not because you say, but that's how I have been through all those years. That's kind of the conclusion that I came up. And the problem also was, I'm a really sensitive person. Also, I did not like to admit it at first, because I'm a guy.
Totally.
But I'm also, I'm a really sensitive person. And the other side, I was also like a really hardworking, responsible person. And I worked in sales, and so I pushed myself so hard, and my body was already screaming for so long, this is not going to work. You're messed up, you're fucked up. And I was like, oh, I'm just a little bit insecure. I just pushed through it like I did every time. And I got so sick from it, like tension wise. But at the other side, I'm also grateful for it, because it's like you have this big contrast, because now like, okay, everything in this direction is I should move totally away from, and not like not meaning like in a materialistic way. I mean like feeling wise.
And this is what you want to come back to, is to your flow. So it's like, so non-separation or non-duality, like, part of what happens, I think, is that you stop living through the mind and through an idea of yourself, and you're more letting this organic, natural sense come up, which is like through the apparent body. But then as you begin to go deep into that, you realize that the body and the world are one. So you could say that what begins to happen is you give up controls to life, you give up controls to God, and God is acting through you, or life is acting through you. So like in this moment, like this speaking is just coming out, and actually what's happening in you is that hearing is just happening. It's God hearing. And when you're saying yes, you might think and you might narrate that you are saying yes. It's actually something that's happening. It's actually this divine flow. And the more that the person lets go of control and
Mm-hmm.
lets go of its idea of itself and what it needs to be, the more it will go back into this flow dynamic
Yeah.
where God is just speaking through you. And then true healing can begin to happen to the body when that
Mm-hmm.
happens. Then the body will begin to expand more to its potential.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I already experienced some of that, and it's
Yeah.
really like I haven't. It's also I had no choice because literally even when I'm saying that in a kind of good way. It's not a really nice way. It's like it's really forcing me really hard to completely let go because even when I'm feeling like bad or something and I'm trying to calm myself down in a cognitive way, my body is like, no, 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 no. Just stay with the feeling. You can't
Yeah.
even do that. The tension increased like tenfold times if I try to talk myself out of
Yeah.
my feelings in a way. It's like
Yeah,
really
totally. Yeah.
pushing
Yeah.
me in this narrow path, and the reason why I called today because like last day I was like feeling really good and it's like going up down, and I'm used to the downs, but sometimes after like 100 downs you're like, okay, is it, am I still going the right way, and it
Yeah.
feels like a little bit much and I just want to
Yeah.
cry out to someone
Yeah.
like
And
Lisa.
yeah, totally. I get that. And to me, like, you've got to see, like, the right way is to investigate everything. Like, so the thought comes up, is this the right way? And like every thought has to be investigated. So to me, that's like the solar plexus energy. And it's this doubt energy and this idea that you can't make it. So we all have these energies in us, and it's just seeing them for what they are. Like nothing is true in thought world. What is true is presence. And when you begin to see that if you have particular thoughts or feelings, that it's connected to particular vibrations in your body, to particular chakras, more precisely, in your body, then you begin to see through it all. So I can have like different energies in the body. So I can wake up and have a sad energy, and just seeing like it's just not taken as truth. It's just something that arises, and it doesn't mean anything, and it's totally impersonal. I can have down days as well where I feel less energized and the body wants to sit more on the sofa, and it's absolutely impersonal. And just seeing where it's connected to. So if I have thoughts like, um, oh, I'm never going to finish my book or something, I'm writing a book currently, then I can just see that maybe the solar plexus, because those thoughts belong to the solar plexus, is a bit out of balance. So maybe I can do a bit of massage on the solar plexus or some stretches or some like emotional release of the solar plexus. But it's seeing that nothing's true. So your thoughts come up and say that, am I on the right path? And then they grab onto something sticks to them, and you feel like there's a tiny bit of you that feels like there's validity in them, but there's no validity in them. They're just a functioning that's happening, but they're not actually talking about reality. We don't know. Like like we just, what we really know, what we deeply know always, is what is, which is right here, right now. It's not a thing, not a place, not a person, not an idea, not a feeling. And that's what we truly know. And that's what's always with us. Everything else is debatable because it comes in opposites, as in thoughts.
I've I've wanting to ask about that, if that's okay still. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. So what? Yeah, I guess it's really again more of a thought, but what's sometimes I found weird is that even when every time I want to fix something in my body, and even if that's through something really wholesome, like doing chakra work, for example, like massaging my chakra, there's like a tension against that, like a lot of tension. Still, even that sometimes really wholesome things like that feel like no, you can't really do that or something. There's like a
Mm.
protest. The tension increases like really hard, and
Mm.
it only wants me to sit with it,
Yeah.
and that's I found that sometimes, yeah, I'm used to it at this point, but it's also like sometimes a little bit scary to just rely on completely on surrendering and not even doing things like that. Do you have any thoughts on that?
No, I don't. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, I don't know. I'd have to
Should I?
really explore that with you. Like I
Yeah.
don't really know where that's coming from, if that's a form of resistance or if it's
Yeah.
just your flow, your natural instinct is to do that.
Let me ask it another way. Should I just? Yeah. I tend because of you, and that I'm really grateful for that. I just try to listen to the energy and really tune in as much as possible with the energy and dance a little bit with it. And that's how I approach it so far, of as much as possible.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds nice. But in the end, like I don't know really what I'm validating or not validating.
Yeah, yeah, get
Like
that.
so, I
Yeah,
just do my best.
yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, with pleasure, Hans. Thank you for calling in and putting yourself out there.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah,
I'm glad. It was more for
yeah,
myself, but thank you for thanking me for that.
yeah. Thanks, Hans.
All
Lots
right.
of love. Bye.
To you too. Goodbye.